Good evening, everyone. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that the notice of this meeting is made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Milburn Education Center at 7 p.m. on October 21st, 2025. Meeting details and draft agenda were also posted on our website. Please stand to salute the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Cohen.
Here.
Mr. Cosgrove.
Here.
Mr. Sacamandi.
Here.
Mr. Stoller.
Present.
Mayor Romano.
Yes. May I have a motion to approve the agenda? May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I have a proclamation for domestic. I'm sorry about that. Thank you. So, Milburn Township is incredibly lucky to have our domestic violence response team who works in conjunction with our incredible police department in assisting victims of domestic violence. They are there for us 24/7. Victims always have access to safe houses, helplines, and the police department. So I just have a proclamation to read. Whereas home should be a place of warmth, unconditional love, peace, and tranquility, and whereas the crime of domestic violence violates an individual's privacy and dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control, and whereas the problems of domestic violence may affect all economic, racial, and societal groups, including children and the elderly, and whereas the impact of domestic violence is wide-ranging, directly affecting individuals and society as a whole, here in Milburn Township in the state of New Jersey and throughout the United States and the world, and whereas domestic violence may be supported by societal indifference and lack of knowledge. Therefore, in recognition of the important work done by domestic violence programs and victim advocates, in particular, the work of the Milburn Township Domestic Violence Response Team and the Milburn Township Police Department, we, the Township Committee of the Township of Milburn and the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to actively participate in the scheduled activities and programs to work toward improving victim safety and holding perpetrators, I can't even say the word, of domestic abuse accountable for their action against individual victims and our society as a whole. Okay, reports. Committeeman Stoller, would you like to start?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to wish all our residents celebrating Diwali a very happy and prosperous festival of lights. That started today, October 21st. It's a time of joy, unity, and renewal, symbolizing the triumph of light over darkness. To our Indian community and all who join in this vibrant celebration, may your homes be filled with the glow of dyes, the sweetness of shared traditions and celebrations. And it was nice to hear all the fireworks late last night. To begin, Recreation Committee, fall programs are wrapping up over the next couple of weeks. If you don't have your applications in, you need to get them in. Travel basketball tryouts will be next week. Thank you to all the residents who are volunteering as evaluators, as well as about 25 people helping out. Winter registration is still open, and we have some spots available for Ski Club. Special Improvement District, big shout out for downtown Halloween shop and stroll. That's going to be on October 31st. I think it's the last meeting before that, from 2:30 to 6:30. Ton of activity for kids, including face painting, a pumpkin patch, costume characters, and more. Please visit Explorer's website for any more information that's desired. Board of Education, not much. As I always say, please drive carefully as everyone is in school again. No updates on the joint fields. Mountain Valley Emergency Communications Center, no updates. I think our meeting was pushed back, Alex. Flood mitigation, we're having a meeting, I believe, tomorrow at 8:30. Open Space Tax Fund, no updates. Our next meeting is October 27th at 8 p.m. open to the public. Affordable housing, always defer to council. That's it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Cohen?
Couple of things. The library, last night we had a meeting. We met with the architect for the second floor renovation, which is pretty close to being finished. We went over whatever was open. We expect to have the certificate of occupancy by the end of the month, and the space will then be made available. We were also addressed by former Mayor Lieberberg as a representative of the CETA committee to go over the plans for the mural, the mosaic tiles in honor of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It will be a project that about 35 at this point not-for-profit groups will be responsible for designing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 5 to 6 tiles. They'll all be placed throughout the mural. And the first home for this will be the library outside the entrance. It's will be protected from the elements, and it'll be at the library for when it is completed. On the Arboretum front, when we met, we discussed, we heard from Princeton Hydro with their with a high level of their proposals for remediating the flooding of the Van Winkle into Glenwood, touching the Arboretum property. Much more detail is required in terms of the cost of their various proposals and also the capacity of floodwaters that each of those proposals will be able to address. The other thing is you'll start to see notifications for the Arboretum's major event this year, which will be taking place in April. It's called Beak Week, and it's a birding event. It'll be going on for, as I said, a week. It'll be involving lots of local merchants and trivia night and all sorts of events. It'll be their major fundraiser for the year.
Committeeman Cosgrove?
Thank you, Mayor. Two reports. A report on Shade Tree Commission update. They're looking at making some minor tweaks to the ordinance that created them. So that's going back and forth between the town forester and the committee. And then I was going to add two things in on the Hartshorn. They're looking at getting some security cameras for the premises around the outside, and looking at trying to improve some internet issues that they have there. Thank you.
Committeeman Supplemental?
So I just want to start by echoing and agreeing with Mr. Stoller's comments about Dwelly. You said it really well, so just agreeing with those. Next up, the EC is working on a resolution to encourage the town to look into the feasibility of and potential desirability of purchasing the old Exxon station on Milburn Ave to turn into a pocket park. We'll see what that resolution looks like when they finalize it. Planning board, we approved an application for a new gym that's opening on Upper Milburn Avenue. It's a young owner. It's always nice to see new businesses come into our town. And I believe we will be having the Woodmont properties coming in front of the planning board. Next meeting with the meeting after that, but definitely if you're interested in following along with that, check out the planning board website to see the schedule. That's it. Thanks.
Mr. Woodward?
Just a reminder about the PSEG work on Essex Street that will be taking place over the next month. It will close down one side of the road, not the entire length, between its intersection with Milburn Avenue and its intersection with Main Street. And as I had mentioned in the last meeting, they'll continue to march down from Milburn Avenue towards Main Street and a gas main replacement. A reminder to residents about leaf collection again, and making sure that you're putting your leaves out on designated days. DPW will be around to pick them up on designated days. Important to note that do not put your grass clippings in the leaves. As we take these to a composting facility, grass is not permitted to be in the leaves. DPW is out red tagging, which are basically just warnings to residents that if you're putting grass out in your leaves, that you should not be doing that. And just gonna start sort of making this part of my report each meeting. And I know that the Environmental Commission has plans to put out a mailer to our residents to remind them, but starting January 1st, we will have a leaf blower seasonal restriction and also a landscaper registration in place. So please, if you do have a landscaper, let them know about the registration. They can contact the Department of Public Works. They're already working on registering those individuals that they know work in town and they interact with. But certainly if you have a landscaper, just to remind them that that registration is taking place effective January 1st as well. And again, I think there is a planned mailer to the residents of the township. That's it.
Were we doing this? No. No, nothing to report. Thank you. I also want to hope everyone had a wonderful Diwali. The fireworks Sunday night were, I think it was their biggest crowd yet, so it was very nice. Public comment. Oh,
Alex, do you want to discuss kind of the e-bike, what we did after that large conversation? I think it'd be good for the.
Oh, sure.
For that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so the townships, the police department put out a video to the public that was sent via rave. It's also posted on the Millbrook Police Department webpage, sort of explaining some of the differences in the various types of e-mobility, e-bikes, and we put up some things that everybody can do to help. I think it's important that everybody sort of take action in this and be a part of the solution. So that is up on the website. It's up on the police department's webpage, and it was sent out to the through rave to basically everybody that's signed up for rave. In addition, the police department has already started sort of the positive reinforcement of those kids that are doing the right things by wearing helmets, riding safely, handing out some gift cards to local businesses, and again, just a reminder to everybody that enforcement will be part of this process. I think it's important. So certainly have a conversation with your kids about wearing a helmet if they're under the age of 17 and riding their bike safely and riding their bike if they're on the road as if they were a car. So all those things were put out as a reminder and kind of response to what's been sort of been happening with the e-bike situation. So that's what we've done.
Thank you.
and flood mitigation annual meetings at 28th.
Yes,
Okay.
at 7 p.m. at the Bauer Community Center fireplace room.
Thank you. Okay, before we open the floor to public comment, I'd like to remind everyone that this is an official meeting of the Township Council, Committee, conducted for the purpose of township business and government operations. The public comment portion is a valuable opportunity for residents to raise issues, ask questions, and share concerns related to township matters. This is not a forum for campaigning, electioneering, or promoting or opposing any candidate for office, including myself or members of this body, as doing so can raise legal and ethical concerns, especially so close to an election. We absolutely respect and uphold everyone's First Amendment rights, and we welcome your input on matters of public concern. That said, I kindly ask that all comments remain focused on township issues and not campaign-related topics. Thank you for helping us maintain a respectful and productive environment. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern and clearly state your name and whether you are a Millburn resident and/or a property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and readily available to the public. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there's 30 seconds remaining. A reminder that this is not a time for dialogue or to debate a matter, and this is a time during our business meeting for the public to offer comments. I will now open public comments.
I'm Bart Gordon, I'm a Millburn resident. I have a question. I'm a little confused about something. At the August 12th meeting, there was an ordinance that was brought up, one talking about rules and regulations for houses of worship. Had a lot of details in it about parking lot sizes, and time schedules. Well, Mr. Sacramone said that this is the first time that he had actually seen this ordinance. And it didn't seem like anyone else on the board was very familiar with it. So it got me curious to where did these ordinances come from? And I asked people in the town, I asked the zoning board, I asked everyone on this board, sent emails out. I wanted to know specifically about the origin of 2708-25, 2715-25, and 2716-25. I was told, probably wrongly, that the town planner came up with this and that no one seemed familiar with it. And when I asked, I think it was the zoning board, specifically Ms. Toby, that everything comes from the township committee and they might review it later and people will review it later, but ordinances have to come from the township committee. So I really like to know, can we find out, with everyone talking about we should have transparency, who originated these ordinances and aren't they all coming from the township committee, or is the information I got wrong about that if they have to originate with the township committee? So I'd like to know, one, is my information correct that this is the place where it comes from and it starts, and who, or did more than one, or everyone get involved with an ordinance, but it had to start somewhere. It can't be that I go to a meeting and nobody was familiar with it. I mean, the thing it was so confusing that that was tabled that night. I don't know if it's gonna be brought up again, but something doesn't seem right.
Thank you.
So,
Good evening, my name is Jeffrey Phil, in the poet section. As my custom prior to the meeting, I sent 2 heads up emails with questions and comments. And I think the public should know, because of one of my questions regarding one of the ordinances, where it had questions and comments about abandoned properties, that the ordinance has been amended based on my comments, but it ties into Mr. Goran's prior comments. Who reads and approves things before they're put in the agenda packet? We had a report from our municipal attorney. I think the public's entitled to have an update as to, one, the round 3 litigation. Has a notice of appeal been docketed? If not, has township received a deficiency? And why hasn't Judge Russo amended the order that would allow us to take the appeal? As to properties cases, I've never seen a case like this where a judge has not entered any orders since February, since March, since July and August. My hands are tied. But the reason I say this, because I sent you case law, and the public should know that it's not on the bill list or July and August time summaries for our municipal attorney. I provided you case law that's come out of the appellate division in the last 2 weeks, saying that some of the motions you filed did not have any basis in law. I think the public should know that. As to some of the bills, we as a community should keep an eye on what's happening in Bloomfield, not Bloomfield, I'm saying Montclair. If you notice, the Board of Education has found a deficiency, started as 11 million, now it's up to $18 million, because they weren't watching what was happening. And when the people were protesting past week, they're talking about appropriations, that how does the president shift monies that have already been appropriated? That goes back to what I've been asking about the various capital projects we had, paper mill, and then at the town hall, when the original ordinances that were adopted, they said that bond anticipation notes will be issued to fund this. If you look at the bill list, there's various funding going for contractors and suppliers, where's the money coming to pay them if we didn't issue a bond? I know my time will be up, I'll be back later. But again, as to some of the ordinance, I asked you questions about the 40-foot cell tower that's gonna be on Chatham Road. Where is that? You know, if it's 40 feet, does it go to the planning board? Does it violate some kind of height restriction? And as to the various zoning changes, can we have more a presentation of what's before and after this new ordinance is adopted? What are the changes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening, Charles Van Vara, Short Hills resident. I had a chance to look at the police video on the e-bikes and scooters. Thank you for doing that. I was a little surprised to see that helmets aren't required over the age of 17. I guess that's perhaps state law, but I think anybody with half a brain would want to wear a helmet. I don't know whether it's feasible for the town to extend that to all age groups, but it would make sense to me so that people with half a brain don't lose that half a brain riding without helmets. Secondly, I wanted to acknowledge, I notified Alex on Friday morning that there was a tree in front of my house with a lot of dead wood, and I was concerned about its safety. And Monday morning, the tree service came and took care of the tree. So thank you, Alex. That was more than a prompt response. That was extraordinary. Thirdly, the average house is approximately two-story house is about 25 feet tall to the peak of the roof. 40-foot cell tower is pretty darn tall. So I was surprised to see the height of that. But you might consider if it's going to be placed there, make it a little shorter. I know Christine Best is not here tonight, but I know she would have a field day with this one. I hope you revisit that and at least consider making it a little shorter.
Thank you.
Hi, Jay Morelli, Township resident. A quick shout out to our town forester, Stacy Phelps, for helping resolve a recent issue. Now, if you follow some of the social media sites around, you might get the impression that our town has been destroyed or is on the way to ruin, or it's not a place anyone would want to live. I'd like to say from my perspective, that is not the case. We have an amazing community, one that embraces our cultural and religious diversity with events celebrating Chinese New Year, Diwali, Rosh Hashanah, Juneteenth, and Christmas, to name a few, as well as American history with the Memorial Day Parade, the 4th of July celebration, the upcoming Milburn 250 event. We have an educational system second to none in New Jersey, a state recognized across the country for education. We have 2 train stations that provide commuters routes into Midtown and downtown Manhattan. We are 15 minutes from an international airport, and we are close to several major interstates. We have fabulous parks. Giro Park, for example, home to our community pool, has 4 baseball fields with covered dugouts and batting cages, dedicated tennis and pickleball courts, a roller hockey court, a basketball court, a field house, and a par 3 golf course. What other town in New Jersey can claim that? The Paper Mill Playhouse produces Broadway caliber shows that draw thousands annually. And we have public events like the Summer Park Concert Series, the Town Hall Plaza events, the Upper Milburn Block Party, and the many local neighborhood block parties, as well as fundraisers like Oktoberfest. And this is due to the tremendous support and involvement of the residents of our wonderful town. We have over 100 volunteers with various boards, committees, and commissions that help oversee the running of Milburn. Are we perfect? No. And should we always be looking to improve? Absolutely. Just like it makes sense for the school system to undertake a strategic planning review or the township to perform a police staffing audit, it makes sense for the community as a whole to periodically undertake a review of its government to see if there is room for improvement. Is this because things are fundamentally broken? No, but instead because we always want to. This is the purpose of the Charter Study Commission. From this proud Milburn Township resident, thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Ed Mazer, Township resident. We have a lot of litigation going on in the town right now. I just have a general question, I guess, perhaps Alex could answer it. With the Jiffin Mill, we experience raided by them if we have our insurance carriers making significant payouts. Will this affect our insurance rates? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Diane Eglo. Since I have left office where you all sit, many of the Republicans have slammed me for not having been transparent during fair share housing details. Like it or not, we were under a judge's order not to talk publicly. If it was right or wrong, history. Now, last week's meeting, Frank, you said there are alternative sites that you, Frank,
Diane.
cannot reveal. Oh, somebody else called him. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where are these alternative sites? When will the public hear about them? And will we have a say in when these sites are going to be revealed, if we like or don't like them there? I also think giving Barton Ross $30,000 to declare the rail bridges historic is outrageous. And how is that $30,000 calculated? Last meeting, resident Scott Redler, he's not political, somehow neglected to acknowledge how the library turf field was accomplished. It was when I was mayor, we worked collaboratively with Town Hall, Alice McDonald, then rec head Bob Hogan. This was so successful because of the collaboration, and I pulled together an 8 a.m. meeting. And that was also very influenced by Sam Levy, who's been a former Board of Ed member. This does not happen when you diss Town Hall staff and threaten to clean house, to just hire people who are gonna agree with you. And lastly, besides continuing lawsuits, what other initiatives have happened this year? We are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawsuits, stop developments. And we all know this is New Jersey law, and we have to have these developments put up. Because 40 years ago, when the Republican Party and Robert Tillotson, former mayor, proudly said he pushed the can, former mayor, pushed the can down the road, which is why we are in the place we're in now. So just to continue having these lawsuits, and I would be very curious with these alternative sites, are they gonna be kept a secret? Thank you. Right.
That was political.
Evening, Jerry Kung, Township President. As normal, I didn't plan to make any statement tonight, but Ms. Iglo has been spouting so many falsehoods, I couldn't help myself. If Ms. Iglo had bothered to go to the court hearing that we had requested the transcript from, she would have found out that there was no such court order keeping the settlement agreement confidential prior to taking official action. The judge's words himself were, there was no such court.
Yeah.
That was in the transcript. I believe it was January of 2022. I could be wrong, but I have the transcript if anyone is interested. As for the alternative sites, they were in a prior court filing, so if Ms. Iglo were following along, she would know where they are. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online?
No hands raised.
Okay, I will now close public comment. Committee Ms. Second, you want to start?
Sure, so.
Turn your mic on. Thank you.
About that. So for the question from Mr. Gorin, ordinances have a few different ways of getting in front of the township committee. So there are some zoning related things, they'll go through the zoning code examination subcommittee. Sometimes there'll be recommendations from the planning board or the zoning board themselves. And then ordinances, I mean, none of the township committee members sit there and write ordinances. So those are generally drafted by the professionals. Then they're given to the township committee they show up on the agenda and, you know, we have an opportunity to vote on them, and that's how that process works. So as to the exact origin of the particular ordinances you were referring to, you know, I think that the ideas, for some of them came as a result of requests from the planning board. You know, there have been, others that may have come from, zoning, et cetera. It really depends, you know, on the ordinance. And then sometimes the township committee will go to the planners and say, hey, here is an overall scheme of something we'd like to get accomplished. Can you go and figure out how to make that happen in a way that's gonna conform with, you know, the NJ land use law, and then the ordinances come before us. So that's how those happen. Let's see, Mr. Feld, the height of the cell phone tower, you know, I'm just looking at the pictures that were in the press packet. It doesn't look like the antenna is actually any higher than the adjacent utility pole, and I certainly don't think it's any higher than the catenary rails that you have for the train. This is gonna be right by the train station. That area has notoriously unreliable reception. That can be a problem, especially for commuters in the morning when they're trying to activate their tickets. So, you know, we've been trying to improve self-service throughout the town, where it makes sense to do so, and this is an opportunity to improve service, which also helps our police and first responders. They have all sorts of complicated technological equipment that needs reliable internet access. So improving cell coverage throughout town, you know, helps with that as well. So that answers the question on the height. Let's see, Mr. Bambera, I do think that's interesting, that we don't have a helmet law statewide. I don't know that a town can enact their own helmet law. I'll defer to council on that. I think that there's certain things that are, you know, under the purview of the state, and then certain things that we can do on a municipal level. But if every town had different requirements for helmets, you know, I can see how that could be challenging. So we'll defer to council on that. Ms. Aglo, you know, I think Dr. Kung answered it correctly. The alternative sites that we proposed to the court were indeed in the public court filings. And I know that there were some people that, you know, were even talking about those on social media after they saw the court filings. So the information was out there. And if you know, were bothering to look into it, you would have been able to get that information.
Just tell us.
As far as what we've accomplished this year, we've accomplished quite a lot this year, but one of the major things we did is the town hall renovation project. That's gonna be kicking off. We had to make some modifications to the design of that. The original design looked like, well, some people described it as a prison, others described it as a warehouse. And, you know, we had a planning board subcommittee that worked directly with the architects, and what we came up with is a building that our town will be able to be proud of for decades and decades to come. It'll also have a nice community space adjacent to Town Hall Plaza, which I think will be great with the summer programming that we have in Town Hall Plaza, once it's finished. I believe we also moved forward with the Taylor Park Gateway project. You know, there's been a number of other projects. So considering that you're someone that often comes to these meetings, I'm a little surprised that you would get up and basically, you know, accuse this township committee of not really accomplishing anything, when we've done quite a bit this year. We've also done a lot in the way of tightening up our zoning codes, you know, to prevent loopholes and, you know, make things more clear, where it's not clear. That's all I have to say about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Kako?
Thank you, Mayor. I had some answers on the cell phone tower, but I think Mr. Sakamani answered those. On the comments about the railroad bridges in town, what's being done there is a study is being undertaken at the cost of $30,000. Those prices, my understanding, are pursuant to a contract with Barton Ross, who's the town's designated historian. So the prices are within a contract price. It's for 10 bridges, and frankly, it's been talked about at other meetings, but what happens is Mr. Ross is going to prepare a study as to whether those 10 bridges should or shouldn't be designated or aren't, appropriate for designation. It'll ultimately come back to the township committee, to vote on whether or not they should be. So I didn't find the $30,000 offensive at all. That's it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Cohen?
Yeah, first, I would like to thank Mr. Moriarty for his positive comments. It's always nice to hear that at public comment. And I would just echo what Mr. Sacramento said about the ordinances. We even talked about it at the last meeting. They typically arise from the various places. They come here as new business. If there's a consensus, they go to the zoning code subcommittee where the planner works on it with the committee. Then they come back here for a first review. We've added a step earlier on, make some kind of judgment as to how controversial it is, and we won't always get that right. But if we think it's controversial, we'll look at doing public hearings for those that are intended, that are expected to be controversial. It comes here for 2 readings, a public hearing as well, and then it goes back to the planning board to make sure that it's consistent with the master plan. So there's a lot of steps that go on, and that's the process. So that's where we go. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Wait,
Sure, I'd like to, echo everything Mr. Moriarty said as well. I always try to stay positive and talk about all the great things we have going on in our town. In fact, I just spent 2 days at a private credit conference in Manhattan, and we had folks from Rye, from Chappaqua, Livingston, from Chatham, all of the similar cities to townships to ours, and it sounds like they're all under attack, and just articulating the great things about Millburn Short Hills and everybody here, and the diversity and the school system is just such a great positive for us. That being said, there's always going to be improvements. Some of the things when Frank was speaking that came to mind were we also brought some stability and professionalism to the township committee in order to be able to all be able to agree to disagree, which is always a good thing. We don't have the bickering and such so much. Ms. Eglo, thank you for any participation and all participation you had in the library turf build. I know how much time we all spend on these and getting them through. I was, sitting in the seat now, I understand those time requirements and whatever can be due to pass it through. In addition to that, Mr. Mazer on general litigation, it's funny, he's talking about that lunch, and I had lunch and breakfast and cocktail hours with all these guys. And it seems that everyone's suing everyone for everything in all these towns. And that, it certainly is important to keep an eye on the bills, the legal bills and such, and the chip, but it's happening really everywhere. What else do we have here? That covers it, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanna echo a couple things, in particular, I had responded to, Mr. Gordon's email, as well, in the exact same fashion as, Mr. Sacramento and Mr. Cosgrove, or Mr. Deputy Mayor Cohen. So, in just the various ways that ordinances do come about, and sort of go through kind of rigorous process, to get to before the township committee for their consideration. Jeff is correct. I appreciate your your email, and the whereas clauses were from a previous ordinance. Obviously they're not codified, but it was good to catch that and be able to change that. So I appreciate that. The Short Hills train station small cell site is will go through those processes similar to the cell tower that is going up at JFK. Because it is a land lease, because it's being passed by ordinance here, or considered it will go through the planning board, or the zoning board, whichever one will have jurisdiction over that. It is, intended to be 38.5 feet, tall. It is 40, in this, just because there does need to be some, flex there, based on signal strength and the ability to get the coverage that they want. But their intention is to build it at 38.5, and again, it'll go through those approval processes, but to Mr. Sacamendi's point, it is a very bad area for cell service. I was talking to the traffic sergeant who was on Chatham Road today, and call dropped twice. So I think this is more than overdue for the, just from a public safety standpoint alone. And the township will receive a small amount of revenue per year for that small land lease by the train station. I would go so far as to say that the township cannot supersede, but obviously I would defer to council, but can't supersede state statute. Oddly, you do have to wear a helmet to ride a motorcycle in the state of New Jersey, unlike the state of Pennsylvania, but for these class 3 e-bikes, even if you're above 17, you do not have to wear a helmet. But agreed, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And to Mr. Mazur's question, yes, much like health insurance, depending on your experience, you will be your rates will increase accordingly. However, the advantage of being in a joint insurance fund or a health insurance fund is that you are part of the larger pool, and some of those, if you were sort of privately insured, you would feel those issues much greater than if you're in a pool of communities that can help offset some of those premium increases.
Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, but thank you very much for asking.
I just want to thank Mr. Morial for reminding everybody what a wonderful community we do live in. Thank you. The Township Committee will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the committee in regard to any items listed on the consent agenda? May I have a motion to approve resolution 25-233 through resolution 25-237, which are listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sacamendi,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller.
Yes.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Before the committee considers the next matter, I'm going to exit the meeting to abstain from its discussion and any action thereafter. And I will turn over the meeting to Deputy Mayor Cohen to lead the meeting in my absence.
Are there any comments from the committee in regard to resolution 25-238? May I have a motion to approve resolution 25-238?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sacamendi,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller.
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano has abstained. Thank you. Mayor?
Committeeman Cosgrove, you are scheduled to introduce 2719 or sponsor 2719-25.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2719-25. An ordinance amending and supplementing the Township of Millburn Development Regulations and Zoning Ordinance. By way of a brief explanatory statement, this is an example of some of the ordinances that we're trying to tighten up and clean up a little bit. I reviewed it a couple times. I don't see anything that looks particularly contentious as far as but one of the main purposes is try to make sure that new housing projects that are built in the town fit in a little better. with the neighbors, right next to them. The next, I'll move, that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading. And that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item. And for hearing and final passage on Wednesday, November 2025. Please be advised that the public hearing of this ordinance will be held at the Milburn Educational Center located at 434 Milburn Ave, Milburn, New Jersey.
May I have a second?
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cullen.
yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sacamandi,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Committee and second you are scheduled to sponsor ordinance 2720-25.
I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2720-25, an ordinance of the Township Committee, the Township of Milburn, awarding the lease of ground space and approving the Township of Milburn entering into a lease with the winning bidder for ground space to be used in connection with construction and operation of a small wireless facility on a portion of the property located at block 1602, lot 2, known as 15 Chatham Road, the Township of Milburn. This is to allow a cell phone company to come in and install an antenna to improve service around the Short Hills train station. That's what it's for. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed in first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Please be advised that the public hearing of this ordinance will be held at the Milburn Education Center located at 434 Milburn Avenue.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cullen.
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sacamandi,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2721-25. I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance 2721-25, ordinance amending chapter 7, traffic of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn. The proposed amendment of the chapter 5 traffic code of Milburn's general code is to establish several recommendations of the Milburn Police Traffic Bureau and Parking Ad Hoc Committee. These changes include the adjustment of parking on Old Short Hills Road across from the Milburn Middle School, adding stop signs to West Road, Essex Street at Milburn Avenue, and at the intersection of South Terrace and Hobart Road. In addition, 15-minute parking will be added to Winningham Terrace, and there's other items also. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Please be advised that the public hearing of this ordinance will be held at the Milburn Education Center located at 434 Milburn Avenue, Milburn. May I have a second?
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Excuse me, before the vote takes place, I just want to make note that there will be two minor changes to Taylor Road, which should be Taylor Road South. I would not, obviously I'll confer with council, but I would not consider them substantive. But we will make those changes before the publication and the adoption.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cullen,
yes.
Mr. Cosgrove,
Yes.
Mr. Sacamandi,
Yes.
Mr. Stoller,
Affirmative.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Cohen, you are scheduled to sponsor 2722-25.
Sure. I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2722-25, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn, Chapter 3, Police Regulations, Article 3-8, Construction Activity Mitigation. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend Article 3-8, Construction Activity Mitigation, to clarify when construction activity can take place and by whom, with the intent of this ordinance revision to ensure that homeowners have the ability to perform work at their homes or permanent residences on Sunday and legal holidays, but that no redeveloper, paid professional, or hired contractor shall engage in construction activity in the township on Sundays or legal holidays. In addition, further clarification requirements for the placement of a temporary construction fence to ensure compliance with when large additions or demolitions take place on a property. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law on the item, and for hearing and final passage on Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Please be advised that the public hearing of this ordinance will be held at the Milburn Education Center located at 434 Milburn Avenue, Milburn.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove.
Yes.
Mr. Sakamandy.
Yes.
Mr. Stoller.
Absolutely.
Mayor Romano.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have no matters of old business, no matters of new business, public comment. Public comment periods to allow for final comments from the community. When invited to speak to offer your comments, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and whether you're a Milburn resident and or property or business owner. Please do not provide your full address, seeing our meetings are recorded and readily available to the public. A reminder that in order to help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers shall limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. Same rules apply. I will now open public comments.
I'm Bart Doran, town resident, and, it's Mr. Sacamante, I still didn't get any, clarity here, and I still wanna know who initiated this. Someone had to initiate it. But I was specifically asking about 3 town ordinances. And my response from Mr. McDonald was, the ordinances you were questioning were initiated by members of the township committee. That was the one that you read, that you were reading for the first time. That was one of them. So I know where these ordinances started. I did a lot of research on this. And your answer to me was wrong. You just kind of brushed over the subject, and it doesn't answer the question of who initiated these. Is there transparency? Do we have the right to know? Thank you.
Thank you.
As Charles Benzara, short term president. Mayor Romano, thank you for your initial statement. Political comments at this podium. I think that's long overdue. I think that any personal attack on any of you is completely out of order. I don't see that you have a gavel there.
I do.
Oh, you do?
I've never used it.
Please, I encourage you to use it. When somebody gets up here and mentions a political party name, they should be gavel. When somebody comes up here and accuses any of you or makes any derogatory comments about any of you, they should be gaveled. And I wish there was a way for you to remotely turn off the microphone, because that would be appropriate as well. I am deeply appreciative of each of you individually and collectively. I wouldn't be able to put in 1/10 of the amount of time that each of you put in individually. So I respect you and applaud you for that. And I wish the public would take that into account before they make derogatory comments about any of you or about this committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Cider, Milburn resident. Alex, you didn't talk about recycling cans and garbage on the street, not in a can tonight yet. Maybe you were saving it. It's still happening. Drive around town, people put out their recycling in boxes, they line up 12 feet on the front of their house, garbage bags. Me, if I was the king. No kings. Monday, the stock market's up, so the no kings didn't work so well. Anyway, I wouldn't pick up this stuff. I wouldn't pick up this stuff if I would put a little note saying, we are not authorized to pick up garbage that's not in a garbage can. So leave it for next week, maybe you'll get a garbage can. Maybe that's too tough, I don't know. All right, good job, everyone, thank you.
Jeffrey Phil, within the public section, just a few follow-up questions. By Friday, Township has to file with the state, best practices inventory responsive And I guess at the next meeting, you had to have a public discussion. That won't be till after the election. If, once they're filed, hopefully they can be posted on the public website, and we have an opportunity to see what our responses are, what this year's best practice inventory are. As to litigation, I wish I could have an update as to the round 3 appeal. As a notice of docketing we entered, as it were, the appellate division, had they said there's a deficiency. I think the public needs to know where we stand on round 3. As to the round 4 coalition dismissal that was on September 30th, I think the community is entitled to know whether we are going to join the notice of appeal of that round 4, where it was basically saying like lack of standing. I support us to take that appeal up. That part of the issue is why certain urban municipalities are excluded from the affordable housing ratio. As to the planning board hearing that occurred last Wednesday, there's an issue about whether a city employee or a consultant who sits on the design review committee, can he also testify on behalf of the app that occurred? Because there's an issue about parking pirates. We've been discussing this for the last few meetings. It seemed that the city executive director was taking an inconsistent position where he was advocating that the applicant should not be required to buy permits. I found that to be striking. And also, there was a question about code enforcement. When we talk about the tenant, everyone supports it, but there was alterations to the interior of the building. The question is, did he have to get permits, the applicant? They said their architect said no, they didn't go. And our experts, that being our new engineer and planning board new engineer and the planning board planner, said that's really a in-house code enforcement issue. But I think that's something that you should be looking at, because it's not the first time that alterations have been done to properties and people say, like, how did you ever get in? And also I want to give a shout out to Amanda Dean, who at the last SID meeting, it was announced that she had resigned and taken a position in Montclair. She did a great job, and I think there should be an acknowledgement of Amanda Dean for the work she did. She basically was the workhorse of the SID.
Thank you. Diana, hello. I don't know why we all got so sensitive and triggered if our names are mentioned. When I was up there, my name was mentioned a lot. And I think I have pretty thick skin because of it. So, go back a little bit, it was Ed Buzak, who was the planning board attorney, who told us to keep quiet, okay? So you can go back in the records and might have been in a closed session, but that's what we were told, amongst other things in closed session. And the town hall renovation project, I'm very proud of it because I'm the one who brought that to the town hall idea. I'm also very proud that I started the Taylor Park Gateway discussions, and it was too much. People didn't want to lose the rose gardens. I get it. It's a beloved rose garden, so that's staying, but it was about time that the Gateway, we've gone through several projects. Yeah, so I don't know why, there was times that people used to come up here and talk about national politics, talk about whatever they wanted. I said, Mr. Cohen, you said several meetings ago, it's free speech up here. I don't know why we're so triggered and why it have to be limited. Because when I talk, you all are very comfortable repeating my name, and it's Eglo, not long Eglo. So it's Eglo. So you can call me out, that's fine. I am really proud of the accomplishments, and I have about 24 of them that happen. Government projects take a really long time. In fact, Alec, you can attest to this, that I'm going to start talking about safety at the Schuylkill train station. That's happening. Maybe not how we configured it, but you know, it takes a long time for things to happen. So don't be so sensitive. You got elected. You are fair game to be talked about. End of discussion. Thank you. Oh.
Evening, Jerry Kung, Short Hills resident. I'm glad Ms. Eglo talked about all her accomplishments. I think her major accomplishment was being on the committee when the housing element was filed 3 days late. So I don't know if you got bad advice from the attorneys that time, just like you got bad advice from Mr. Buzak, but I think, you know, you've done enough for this community, so thank you. I wanted to pivot to something a little more joyous. So I know there's probably close to 1,000 corrugated plastic lawn signs out there. And seeing as how this is the last TC meeting before Election Day, I just wanted to make an announcement about how hopefully our township can help give those lawn signs a better use. I know last time in 2023, I reached out to a professor at the University of New Hampshire, an occupational therapist that repurposes corrugated plastic lawn signs for assistive devices. So I'm just going to read an excerpt from a news article. University of New Hampshire professor Therese Wilcom has been seeking donations of discarded campaign signs for use in her occupational therapy classes, where students cut up the corrugated plastic to create assistive items ranging from tabletop iPad stands to a clip that can hold a sandwich for someone who can't use his arm. We noticed that there are tons of election signs all over, and they were made of this corrugated plastic material, and we thought, holy cow, we can make tons of assistive technology solutions for people with disabilities. We can get a bumper crop of these signs coming in, Wilcom said. Wilcom said she's always looking for new ways to use everyday items to help people with physical challenges, and she urges her students to think outside the box, or in some cases, cut it up and reuse it. So that's I think it's a very good use for these corrugated plastic lawn signs that can't really be recycled. So I'm hoping the township could make an announcement after Election Day, maybe have the DPW be a pickup site, just so that we can give these lawn signs a new life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay Morelli, I will say, Dr. Kung's idea is a good one, but I think the campaigns that produce the signs should be the ones funding the collection of them, not the township itself. But it is a good idea. Thank you, Dr. Kung. Quick question, on the historical, declaration for the bridges. Is it clear to everyone, well, it's not clear to me what the pros and cons are going to be of going through this process of looking at the bridges and determining whether or not they can be made historic or not. I'm not arguing for or against it. I'm completely neutral to it. Actually, if it does prevent us getting some bad looking bridges, that would be great. But it's not clear to me that we have jurisdiction over the bridges. It's not clear to me what the ultimate cost it may be to make them historic. It's not clear to me whether or not we're going to have any input as to how the bridges look if they are made historic. Maybe everybody on the dais understands that. I don't. And it may be helpful to the rest of the community just to lay out for everybody, here are the pros and cons of going down this process. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Ed Mazer, resident. I have not followed a lot of the litigation on fair share housing. There was a reference made earlier, I think by Mr. Kung, that the court filings showed the alternative sites. I think it might be good for the public if somebody were to mention at this meeting where those sites are, so that those of us who are not intimately involved will at least know what other sites might be considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one online.
Okay.
Hi, good evening, Perry Urso. Just real quickly, I know there was a conversation somebody had mentioned about not being able to tell the terms. It was specifically at a January 28th, 2022 fairness hearing. I personally asked Judge Gardner if he instructed the TC not to disclose the settlement agreement to the public prior to taking official action. He said he absolutely did not instruct. So I don't know where the instructions or where things were confused, but from Judge Gardner's specific comments and recommendations, so something was misconstrued from that hearing Two, I understand another attorney was mentioned about that, so I'm not sure where and who exactly said, but the terms were not disclosed to the public prior to taking official action. So I do believe that the township does have claims for that reason. Also, there was some chit chat about some lawsuits. I've been asking that same question for about 5 years. I don't understand why this municipality, unlike other municipalities that I deal with, when I have an issue, at any given time, I can contact any department head, any business administrator, any clerk, any mayor, and set up a meeting and have a conversation. I was not afforded a conversation, and I repeatedly asked, why do you choose to litigate and not mediate? You refused for 5 years not to have a conversation. It's very odd to me. It's very disappointing to have these turn of events when you're dealing with public officials and a municipality. It's very disheartening, and I hope things change. I hope people can be a little bit more communicative, because then there maybe perhaps shouldn't be and wouldn't be, and there would not have been any lawsuit. So I think that people should be a little bit more willing. Like, I put out 2 emails last year, one in February of 2024 and one in December in 2024. No one's addressed those issues. I've publicly stated that I will no longer come to these meetings in person. No one has addressed those situations. So thank you and have a nice evening. I'm hoping and grateful things that change. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My apologies. It's very difficult to drive looking at the rear view mirror when you're trying to move forward. What we need as residents is how the township committee can come together and have a forward-looking approaches. We do understand that certain decisions have been made and that might have like a consequence in the future. But what are the steps that we are taking forward to address those? Typical example would be the library renovation project. We currently have a sports stadium or a sports field. There is a parking lot, and the library patrons parking are sharing one narrow entrance. And in top of this, we also have the paper mill playhouse that feeds into Glen Avenue. So this causes a traffic congestion, and it becomes a public safety issue, where there are a lot of students, parents who are dropping and picking up kids, and also patrons who use that. And is there a way in which we could have like a notification from the library as to the completion of this project and when it would be ready for patrons to use the south entrance as well as the north entrance? This is just like a case in point, where better communication would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will close public comment. Committeeman Stoller, would you like to have any response?
All right, for the sake of brevity, I'm just gonna jump along here. One of the things that I don't think this days gets a lot of accolades for is the round 4. We had no rebuttals or challenges from builders. That cannot be stated enough, and it's a huge win for our town. And then second, I was gonna mention this earlier, the misinformation out there on the charter study. The last charter study, I said this last meeting, but the last one that was done in this town was 1972. This is not a referendum on whether to change our government this year. It's simply a referendum on the action of opening a study of the local forms of government with with people to bring back to the town what they believe. And or what they believe the decision should be. It could be that we don't want to change our form of government, or it could believe we go to a stronger form, or we have a paid mayor. There's a lot of different things that they're going to look at. 1972, I said it last time, was the year I was born. That's 53 years ago. So it's time to have that information available to residents who all, only a few people here that have lived here for 50+ years, and I can probably see a couple of them in here. So I think we're doing ourselves a disservice if we don't vote to actually look at what the proper or form of government is in our town. What? No, I'm not. Somebody requested information about the charter commission. I want to make sure the information. There's people like your husband who are stating that it's a different thing than what it is. I want to make sure that the entire community understands what the charter commission is.
All right, you did. You can't tell people like.
Okay, and then, all right, and then just to wrap it here, I agree with Mr. Feld in that we do need to have the best practices put out quicker than later. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll be quick too. I actually wanted to say that I agree with Mr. Seibert. That is something we should consider doing. If they put out a whole street of boxes, don't pick it up, and then come back the next day, because odds are the people that do stuff like that will just leave it for the next day and probably for the next week recycling. So it's an enforcement issue. Don't pick it up, and then the next day if it's still out, give them a ticket, because it's just wrong.
Thank you. Committeeman, Oswald.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I guess, Mr. Mazer, your question about the alternative sites, my understanding is it is on the township website. It's back in 24, but the proposed alternative sites were right next to Town Hall, the Rimback site, or what used to be Rimback, a portion of the parking lot that's adjacent to the library, and I'm forgetting the third one, so I'll ask somebody else, maybe Frank, to chime in. Sorry?
I'm sorry, I don't think there was.
Oh, there's just those two. All right, thank you. That's it. Thank you very much.
So Mr. Feld, your question about the round 4 appeal, I certainly hope we are joining that. I have no knowledge that we wouldn't be. I think we've had pretty broad agreement on this dais for the commitment to join that lawsuit with the 30 some other towns. So I assume we are going to be involved in that appeal. I certainly am for that, and if anyone else is not, they can speak up. But I do think that's something that is moving ahead. We'll see how that plays out. Let's see. Seglo. So thank you for reminding everyone that it was Mr. Buzak who said that the terms of the settlement had to be kept confidential. However, what he failed to mention is Mr. Buzak was also the attorney in, I think it was Denville, and he actually did a presentation to the Denville residents prior to their township committee or whatever their form of government is taking official action. So I would think if I was on the township committee at that time, I would have looked into what our professionals were doing, and I certainly would have questioned whether the information we were getting from them was correct, because I think that just doesn't pass the basic spell test. And it's unfortunate that the township committee back then didn't raise questions, because another thing that we have accomplished on this dais is we've had to try and clean up the dumpster fire that was left for us by prior township committees. You've even part of those. So, next time I would say do your homework. Mr. Moriali, as far as the historical process for the bridges, so the bridges, I believe, are owned by NJ Transit. And the bridges eventually are going to need to get repaired or replaced. I don't know, you've heard the saying, they don't build stuff like they used to, right? that's certainly true, and all too often, when the state goes to build something, whether it be NJ Transit or whatever else, they may do things in a cheaper way that's not gonna last as long. So by designating these bridges as historic, again, we're going through the process, we have to see the report and go through that process, but that would allow the town to have some influence and control and review over what would happen there, because I believe they would have to come before the HPC if NJ Transit was gonna make, rebuild it or make major modifications. It's one of the advantages of designating it, and they would need to, replace the historic elements in kind. So if it was built with, steel or iron, whatever it may be, they'd have to build something similar that matched. And so that's one of the benefits of them being historic, that you won't have, as likelihood of there being shoddy construction or repairs in the future. Let's see. I think that's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. McDonald, do you have any?
Just two things. One is, the best practices will be discussed at the November 12th meeting. We're just working on a few of the final answers, but I think the township will be in great shape as it relates to that. I think that you have to score at least 32, to be 100, receive 100% state aid. You will be well within that. If not, just a few points shy of the perfect score. But the other thing regarding the appeal round 4, I emailed the township committee about what the process was gonna be when it came to the Montvale litigation. I don't think there's any change in position if you're a part of the original lawsuit, why you wouldn't be a part of the appeal of that. So that is, I think, the impression of Michael Collins and the Montvale litigation team, that all those that were a part of the original suit will move on with the appeal. So that was it.
And I just want to add that my neighbor's garbage was not picked up because it was in a bag. But I guess they, get to all the streets or whatever, but my neighbor's, she was very upset, but claimed she didn't know, but, May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Good night, thank you.